Thank you so much. What a wonderful 3 day. I mean, it's been an honor to be a part of this colloquium. Um, so many archaeologists, so many researchers over here. I feel humbled that I'm going to be presenting on the same legendary platform that you all presented over the last couple of days. I'm basically a technocrat, so what I'm going to do is present some of the latest technologies in the immersive world and see how that could be used for history and heritage, documenting history and heritage, recreating history and heritage. So, first up, I will talk to you about certain immersive technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, ambisonic sound, haptic feedback, as well as another technology called 3D printing, right? So, one by one, I will just socialize these concepts before I move into how this can be used in the Sindhu Saraswati civilization. For the uninitiated, there are two fields of immersive visualization. They're called augmented reality and virtual reality. Augmented reality is essentially like the photo on the slide that talks about a mobile phone being pointed over to another heritage site, and on the mobile phone you're augmented with the details of that particular heritage site. The augmentation could be about videos of that heritage site, about animation of how that heritage site came into being, construction principles and stuff like that. And at the same time, the metrics of that site, let's say the height or the dimensions and stuff like that, the material that was used, etc. Because it's on mobile phone, it's fairly well accessible and welcomed by the audience, whoever uses this new piece of technology. Virtual reality, on the other hand, is what you would have seen, wearing those headsets and head-mounted devices, and essentially those headsets create a 360 view that immerse you fully into that particular area. So it's like, think of it as the eyes. You use the eyes to turn around 360 or 270 or whatever that field of view is. You put on the headset, around you, it's only that scenery. I cannot see you, though you are across me, I cannot see you. So that presents a very compulsive, a very immersive environment for people to learn from and also to kind of partake in, right? So imagine as a first person, you become part of the civilizational walk, right? So that's the kind of experience. Of course, a lot of museums the world over have adopted virtual reality and augmented reality. The Smithsonian, the Louvre Museum, all of these. And what that does is it divides the crowd that comes into the museum to partake in these technology experiences while the others continue to enjoy the real artifacts. So you can, crowd manage the whole thing. And with technology being very new, it is a very attractive feature for these museums to attract more and more consumers. Yeah, so the perceived advantages of immersive environments are very, very clear. It is a visitor attraction, as I said. It increases engagement. Virtual reality in schools in Germany, US, and UK have been reported to increase engagement in students by 33%. Right? So, I believe it's the best way for kids and students to learn about history rather than the books that we are subjected to. Of course, it's a new technology. The social interaction bit is still evolving. You would have heard of the terms metaverse and stuff like that. Very nascent, very early. But there are steps being taken to ensure that the addiction path that we took with the mobile revolution does not happen with the immersive world revolution. Now, that's about the visual aspect, right? Essentially, immersive world means you have to look at multi-sensory experiences, right? We've covered the visual side of it, the eyes. Now we go to the sound, the ears. I don't know how many of you have heard of this technology called ambisonic sound. You would have heard of Dolby DTS 5.1 and all of that, where, in theater you get spatial sound, right? You sit at certain place, you get something from the left or the right. Ambisonic sound is when you wear your headset, and as I said, once you wear the headset, you are in that world, right? You're turning around, you're involving yourself in that world. As you turn your head, the sound around you will turn the opposite direction, pretty much like how it happens in the real world, right? So it's called spatial sound, ambisonic sound. As a company, we are pioneering this in India. And what that does to students and kids when they go to these experiences in immersive worlds, they get blown away not only by the visuals but also by the the sound of it, right? So imagine you are just entering a temple complex, right? And you hear the chants in the background, right? As you turn around, the chant suddenly comes into the foreground because you are right there. I'll show some of the prototypes that we've done. And all of these, we deployed that in a G20 summit with the Ministry of Education just 2-3 weeks back at the IIT Chennai campus. And it was a resounding success. I'll show some videos from there too. So that's about the ambisonic sound. Now, what ambisonic sound also helps us do is document archaeoacoustics. Now, there are archaeologists here, I'm sure you know this field of archaeoacoustics, very new field, where the sound of an archaeological site is recorded. What that means is the ambience of that site is recorded from various junction points of the space. And that is analyzed for the historical significance of that particular place. There were projects that were taken in the French caves. I cannot pronounce those names. I mean, somebody could help me, but the most popular, cave art paintings that were there. So this French team went with the ambisonic equipment and they recorded every cave around that area. And they found that the caves that had the ambisonic properties had the cave art paintings. The caves that didn't have the ambisonic properties didn't have any art. This we are talking about prehistoric times. What kind of technology, what kind of knowledge did they have to unearth this, that we need an electronic device to figure things out, right? Now that is archaeoacoustics, and it is my personal belief and passion that monuments in India, old, dated, even your Harappan, the burials, they may have some sound properties, which I really want to investigate. We've done Rani Ki Vav as early as yesterday in terms of ambisonics. We are doing Dholavira today and tomorrow. And a month back, we had done the Brihadishwara temple at Tanjavur and the Shore temple at Mahabalipuram. So amazing properties of these structures, some things that kids would be very, very nuanced about in the days to come. But this is an up and emerging field in the world, and I'd like more and more pioneers in India to do this also. So that's about the sound. Now this is a little screenshot from our developer engine. We use game engines for our virtual reality experiences, right? This is a scale model of the Brihadishwara temple in Tanjavur, where that black ball that you see at the entrance, that is the whole sound segment. That is where the sound will emanate from. That is the source of the sound. All the yellow lines that you see moving up and down, those, that is the position of the sound. So when you look up, the sound will be heard. When you look down, the sound will be very, very, very much like a bird chirping up in the sky, right? So this positioning of sound is technologically so beautiful, it enhances the overall experience. Nothing remains unrealistic, nothing remains untrue. It's not like you're watching a TV or a movie. It's pretty much you're part of the environment and you're actually creating it, right? So, I mean, we have these technologies, why not make use of it for heritage and history? This is what we did in the Brihadishwara temple. We took this ambisonic sound recorder, which is made by a person in Bangalore who is known more in France and Holland than in India, right? He's won the highest civilian award in France and Germany. His name is Umashankar Mantravadi. He lives a very isolated life, very simple life, but we are procuring the knowledge from him and the equipment from him. And one thing he's told me is, Ajit, the age is not on my side. I want you to take this forward. And that, for me, it's a responsibility that I'm ready to shoulder. And I hope that ambisonic becomes a very, very common play word in India, much like virtual reality does. Now we are done with visual and sound. Now we move to touch feedback. And by the way, what I'm talking to you is what we use on a day-to-day basis in our development projects at Who We Are. And Who We Are, the name as it suggests, it's to find out who we are, right? That was the reason with which it was conceptualized. So multisensory haptic is a sense of touch, So what we use this for is, of course, this is an equipment manufactured in Europe. We import it and we kind of configure it to look at. So once you wear the VR headset, we give you a glove. The glove looks heavy, but the moment it's switched on, it becomes very light. It's like, it's the size, I mean, it's like you cannot feel it, but you can get your fingers to feel it, right? It becomes very super light. And once you get to a temple pillar, let's say, I mean, just imagine yourself walking along the temple and you want to touch the pillar, go closer. You touch it. If it's granite, you'll get the granite sensation. If it's limestone, you get the limestone sensation. That kind of a software configuration is possible today. And this, I believe, is a great tool for researchers, for students, for general educationists to reap into, right? I mean, in terms of multisensory technology provisioning. Lastly, 3D printing, I'm sure many of you would have seen, many of you would have experienced it also. 3D printing usually is used for industrial reproductions, right? Tools and all these bottle caps and stuff like that. My team uses 3D printing for building scale models of temples. And just to give you an idea, we've built the Brihadishwara temple, which is it's a huge campus. We built it at a scale of 5 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet kind of a thing. So it's a very formidable product, and that is a very, very high piece of attraction in any installation that you would have seen. I know the ASI headquarters in Delhi has the Humpy chariot, right? That is also 3D printed. The person who printed it is a great friend of mine, right? So it's things like these that we want to look at technologies, how we can use it for Indian history, heritage, arts, and culture. That's our focus area. Now, this is some of the, this is the Brihadishwara demo. You can ignore the sound. This was at the G20 summit that we set up. It's the 5 feet by 2 feet by 1.5 feet height. So each of those mantapas or whatever, they are scaled down. They are 1:175. They are scaled down, and I mean, other people are going through the VR headset. They look funny until they become normal, So this is one, this is the other one, this is the Shore Temple at Mahabalipuram. Professor Alok would love to see more of this, I'm sure. So these 3D printed models, we use them to scan using our mobile phone, and we create an augmented reality experience out of it, right? So those are some of the things about immersive experiences. And what we found out in one of these, can I just hide it? This one? Excellent. What we found was in one of the VR experiences the guy put on, it was a temple experience. And this guy had already removed his shoes, if you notice there, and he's going through the VR experience. He'd removed his shoes and he does a namaskaram and all that. So it was a student who was doing it. He need not have done it. There were no rules to do it. I believe this level of immersion will revolutionize the way history, archaeology, and the associated sciences is consumed. And finally, it's all about storytelling. This is the underwater remains that I think Professor Alok, your team, unearthed in Mahabalipuram. And we were there a month back. We took the 3D scans of these particular products and created an experience that you are at the Mahabalipuram and you're actually going underwater to see them.
You take a moment of idle rest under the tree.
So it won't take too long,
How
it's just a
simple
minute.
luxury is missing from our fast daily lives in the cities. It makes you grateful that this heritage is still preserved, and mind naturally asks, will it be this way forever? You vaguely recall that fateful tsunami that visited the shores less than a decade ago, carrying with it all the elemental threat each catastrophe does. How many tsunamis had the Shore Temple weathered? How many unnaturally high waves had battered this rock and stone? And surely, What you see now is only what survives. So, well, the awful chief had laid their deep foundations. The ocean pulls your attention. Mind going under these waters
These
brings a
are
tsunami,
experiences we can
revealing a
create.
heritage
It becomes
equally
a
complex
storytelling.
and intricate hiding at the seabed.
Of course, the suspense is what we created, So the idea is it's a very powerful immersive storytelling medium. We should leverage it for history, heritage, arts, and architecture. Now let's move to the possibilities with the Harappa civilization or Sindhu Saraswati, Indus Valley, whatever the names are. Now, yeah, I mean, because everybody presented papers, I thought I'll become a little bit data oriented, so I'll create one slide that I'll also copy from, So I, I've met a couple of archaeologists who was doing the Indus script, decipherments and all that. And he had this very important point to make about Angus Maddison, who was entrusted in the OECD to look at the GDP of the world in one CE, or how it was in the past. And he came back saying that though China and India together contributed 60% back then in one common era, with India contributing 33%. Now, Chaube ji, he mentioned about, one sample having some kind of a history that it existed there. So, in the same parallel, imagine in one CE, if we were contributing that much GDP, what was going on? What was in our civilization that was so flourishing, that was so full of trade and richness? And that to me was the whole point of what the civilization was about: the flourishing trade economy, the navigable waterways, the expanse of the geography. Yeah, I mean, though it's debatable, people say it's from Hanoi to Haifa, from the east to the west, and some people say west to the, more west. Whatever it is, the expanse is unreal for that age and time, to the limited knowledge that we have today. I mean, we think we are the most advanced civilization. Personal opinion, I think we are the most primitive. Um, so the idea behind recreating these ancient technologies, recreate those motifs, recreating the sights and sounds of that particular time, based on whatever research you guys have undertaken and you've devoted your life to, that is something that we should, really undertake. What all are possible? 3D modeling of all these structures, 3D modeling of even your bangles and stuff like that, because we can also complete any broken structures because of the AI component, and the AI component is trained well. It's not like limited data set, solid data set. And that's the reason we are going to Dholavira and all these sites, so that we can recreate these cities and townships in animation. The way you saw the Mahabalipuram, we want to create a complete travel experience of that town or city with the knowledge that you guys can provide. All right. Now, the beauty of immersive technology, I hope I have time, right? I can. Oh, good, you lost track of time. Very good, very good. So, the beauty about immersive visualization and aural experience is the fact that you can create a first person experience as though you are part of the Sindhu Saraswati civilization. You're walking through those granaries, you're walking through the unfortunate burials, or you're walking through any part of the town that is well planned, irrigation, or the sanitization, all that kind of stuff, right? So it becomes a part of what you are going through, and therefore there is the potential to learn more, or to be more curious, and to kind of deduce something more is that much more. We could also look at exploring the lingua franca of those times, the languages. I know, a lot of that is undeciphered, but whatever it is a possibility that we could talk about whatever we are talking today in that immersive visualization, and therefore it becomes more palpable and more reachable to the masses. And of course, create a continuum: today's bangles, the other day's bangles, today's textiles, other day's textiles, and stuff like that. In fact, we had done a small little pilot for a virtual reality-based music concert that we did at Sharda Shrine in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So we created the 3D model of that shrine. We created the Saraswati as how it would have been, and we looked at the Saraswati script and all that. And we got an artist to perform a Sharda Vandana. And this was her real life bangles and footwear and all that, and we kind of moved it into the digital realm. So this is what they call as avatar creation today, 3D avatars. Metaverse will be full of it. But it's high time we create something Indian, because all of these avatars are Western. One single problem that they are facing today in the digital world is they cannot create natural folds of the sari. They cannot create the action on the wind on the sari. IIT Bombay, IIT Jodhpur are working on this. But there's so much more that we can do for our own technology. I mean, you say make in India, Atmanirbhar, time for us to lead the technology space through technologies like these. This is how we digitize the saris. So there is a workflow model. This is all the game engine that we use. We take photos of the original sari and kind of layer that into a digital realm and texture that out. The same thing can be done for the ethnic wear or the traditional wear of, Harappa and all that. Apart from that, flora and fauna, like, Joglekar sir and, the massive research the teams have put in, all of these, become part of the visual experience. So you're walking by the town, you see the flora and fauna, that's it. It's as simple as that, but it's as knowledgeable as that at the same time. Where do all these happen? It happens at what we call as Anubhav Kendram or experience centers for the Westerners. The idea is to create immersive experiences. We also do simulations of wind and heat, which means battle, war cries, all of that is possible. Multi-user is possible. Again, 3D printing, we can create small souvenirs, make them merchandisable, make them available to the common folk online and offline. Finally, gratitude for the opportunity, Professor V.N. Prabhakar, Michelle Danino, and Dr. Sachidanand Joshi ji of IGNCA. That's about it. Thank you so much.